Good evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, friends and family, and welcome once again to the Abundant Way Ministries Tuesday evening Bible studies. It is a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah. So I am so glad that I get to take a day off tomorrow.
Oh, lucky you.
Mm-hmm. And you mean your plantation ain't letting you off?
It's we have tomorrow as a floating holiday, so we can use it whenever we want. But no, we're not officially.
Okay.
So
So for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, tomorrow, the country is celebrating Juneteenth. And I must admit that I had no idea what Juneteenth was until just a few years ago.
mhm.
And for those of you who don't know, June 19th, also known as Juneteenth, is the day that slavery in the United States of America was officially abolished throughout the entire United States. So, just to give you a little history before we get started on our Bible study. So, in 1863, President Abraham Lincoln signed and enacted the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves. However, there was still division in the United States. There was the northern part of the United States, and there was the southern part of the United States. The northern part got the word, but the southern part resisted. They rebelled. That part was known as the Confederate. And it wasn't until 2 years later, in 1865, when the southern states, those Confederate states who still had slaves, were then forced by military force to abolish slavery. So it was in Galveston, Texas, where this took place. And so, can you imagine the United States passing a law that abolishes slavery, but not all of the states acquiesced? And so, if you lived in a certain part of the United States, you were still subject to slavery. So June 19th, that is also known as the Second Independence Day. So that's a little history for you.
Thank you, sir.
So that's the reason some of us have tomorrow off. And did you know that's another uh, that's another holiday where that 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 kind of marks when I'll say black folk, African American, did cookouts. Yeah. And do you know why? Where that came from?
Why?
Because during slavery, as you know, many families were separated.
Right.
And so when slavery was abolished, families began to reunite. And so that's where the cookout actually came from.
Okay.
So they began to reunite not only with family, but within communities. So the church was a big part of that. You know, so they would get together and they would cook out, and that's where that whole tradition, one of where that tradition comes from. So when you barbecue, when you out on the grill tomorrow, think about why you're doing it, because families are coming back together.
That's one way to bring them back together.
Yeah.
You know, one of the, I won't say one of the main reasons, but one of the biggest way families come together, which is a sad occasion, really, is at funerals.
Yeah, but they don't really cook out on the grill, though.
No, but it's not even about the cookout. Like you said, it's about the families coming together, fellowshipping together.
Well, think about family reunions. That's more.
That's more on the line.
Yeah. So family reunions, when you got family coming in from up north, you know, hooking up with families that live down south. We're about to have a family reunion in Alabama, and that's what that's all about.
Yeah.
So your family reunion, that's like a Juneteenth celebration. Or should I say Juneteenth is like a family reunion celebration. Yeah. All right. Enough of that.
Thank you for the history.
Yeah. See, there's more than just the Bible stuff. Learn a little bit today. Okay. All right. So today we are actually finishing up our discussion on parables. So just recap again. We've been talking about Jesus as the way. He's the abundant way, the abundant way to life. Right. But understanding what that really means, there's a lot that goes into it. And one of those things that we need to understand in order to really see Jesus as the way is to understand what he taught, and to really get deep into what he taught, you got to understand how he taught. Jesus taught by parables, right? And so the parables are very powerful teaching lessons in that they have multiple lessons in one, multiple morals to the story, and the stories kind of live on as you live out your life. So what we're talking about today is how parables, let's see, we're talking about, give me 1 second. I want to make sure I give it to you right. We're talking about how parables highlight the themes of social justice and compassion. Now, parables highlight things of social justice and compassion, right? So, what I'd like to do today, I want to pick up where we left off. Last week, we really started talking about the Good Samaritan. Oh, Lord. I don't know if you guys were on at the end. I mean, when y'all watch these Bible studies, you know how they say, stay to the end? Last week, I think I lost my wife. I thought we was going to heaven together.
We are.
But I think I might have lost her at the end of last week's session because We're talking about the Good Samaritan
Mm-hmm.
and how we're supposed to treat everyone as a neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of their socioeconomic background,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what they did. We're supposed to treat everyone with mercy. And I just brought up a scenario that said, what if somebody slapped your mama? Look at her. Look at that face. And then later on, you saw that person in distress, in dire need, on the road. Would you help that person? Oh, she struggled with that.
I had no struggle with that. What I said was my first reaction would have been, God don't like ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Now, will I directly come to you and help you? Nope.
Oh, Lord.
I will send help for you. I will call somebody. I'll call 911, whoever, whatever it is. But that's a hard one for me now.
Mhm.
Because how is it that you even get the nerve to slap my mama in front of me
Mhm.
and then you walk off?
Well,
That's not gonna happen.
well, it doesn't necessarily have to be in front of you, but you know what this person
Okay, well
did.
then so here we go. I find out about it.
Mhm.
Man, listen, I'm just gonna have to repent. Jesus is gonna have to give me a pass on this one because yeah,
Okay.
it's not. Now if it's that now, okay, so here, if it's down the line somewhere,
Mhm.
this incident happened and then years later
Mhm.
I see the person.
Mhm.
Okay, I can truly say that I would help that person.
Okay.
If it's the next day or the next month, the next week, no. Mm-mm.
So you hoping God don't call you
Right.
between
Yeah,
time
that's just gonna be
the
a
time that they
conversation with me.
slapped your mama and next year.
Right.
Don't take me between now and then.
No. I said I will be repenting. You're gonna get forgiven. You're gonna give me a little grace.
Okay.
But I'm not the only one. I'm just the one I'm just saying what other people thinking and don't want to say.
Don't want to say.
No.
If you're online, just let me know what you think. If somebody slapped your mama and you know about it, you know what they did to your family member, and later on, I'm not gonna put it a year down the line, but later on,
What's later on?
maybe later on that evening, maybe a couple days later, you saw that person. Maybe that person got hit by a car. They laying on the side of the road. Their leg is broke and they need help, and there's nobody else around.
And I told you I would call 911.
Now you know, depending on what neighborhood you in,
I ain't gotta do that. I did my part.
Mm.
I called for
I
help.
need to know what y'all would do. So if
What
you
would
are,
you do?
I will help the person.
No, you would.
I'm trying to go to heaven,
You don't lie.
and I want to see you there.
I'm gonna be there.
I want to see you there.
Trust me, I'm gonna be there. Yeah.
So
anyway.
if you're online, just type in the chat. Let me know what you would do. Be honest. Be honest. There's no judgment here. I want to see y'all in heaven, but just let me know, how long will it take? How long will it take before I see you on the other side in the upper room? Okay. Parable. I want to pick up on that parable as we talk about how Jesus is a parable affects social justice and compassion. So it's big time on compassion as we can tell.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know the parable, real quick, so one of the scholars of the law, which was one of the religious scholars of the religious law, was tempting Jesus and asked, "What must I do to inherit eternal life? In other words, what must I do to go to heaven? And Jesus answered with a parable that said, a certain man was traveling down from Jerusalem to Jericho, and he came across a man who had been robbed, had been beaten, had been stripped naked, and left half dead on the side of the road. He said a priest came by, saw the man, and crossed on the other side. A Levite came by. Levite is like a minister. Came by, saw the man, crossed on the other side of the road. A Samaritan, whom the Jews despise because of their long history of animosity, he came, he saw the man, and he helped the man. He bandaged the man up. He got the man medical attention. He took the man to a hotel or somewhere that can take care of him until he got well. And he told the host of that facility, whatever I owe you beyond what I've already given you. He paid the man in advance. Whatever I owe you beyond what I've already given you, just let me know and I'll make you whole when I come back. And that story has been known throughout history as the Good Samaritan. There's some things that were raised about the fact that the two people that passed them by were religious folks connected to the church, which we would expect them to operate differently when it comes to helping those who are in need. But for whatever reason, they both crossed the street and passed them by. So the Samaritan showed compassion. And that's what God is looking for from us. It's as if to say, I don't care if you went to seminary, if you went to Bible college, if you went to theology school, you could be have a divinity degree, a Master of Divinity degree from the ITC, a doctorate of ministry. You could be a professor at the seminary. You could be the pastor of the church. It doesn't matter if you don't have compassion. And compassion is not defined by your title or your status in the community. But compassion is straight from the heart. And if you don't have compassion, then you can cancel your trip to heaven. Just cancel it. So what I want you to do, Melly Boo, since you're struggling with whether you don't have enough compassion to help this person on the side of the road, I need you to take out trip insurance.
Trip insurance?
Yeah. I need you to take out trip insurance in case something happened to you between now and the time God calls you home, before you forgive this person on the side of the road. You need trip insurance.
Okay. I'll get trip insurance too. To start off with, I'm just gonna have to get trip insurance. That's hard. And it doesn't mean I don't have compassion for people, or I me, I can help anybody. I'm a giver. But it's just something when it's you do something to a person that's dear to me. This person, like my mother, you, especially my grandchildren. No, just go yeah. So it's kind of hard because again we have to look at ourselves. We're trying to follow the way that Jesus set up, but we're still human. And we're not perfect. And we're going to fall short every time. And even said it in the Bible, we're going to fall short. But when we do that, that's when we really go and ask ask God for forgiveness
Mhm.
and to help you with that part that you need help with. That's the struggle for
Mhm.
you. And it's not necessarily for me. It's not necessarily a struggle. It's just that one incident, and that sometimes it's all it takes.
Mhm. So that's good, because what it shows is that if compassion is the key,
Mm-hmm.
then um, unforgiveness or being offended
Mm-hmm.
may be the roadblock, the stumbling block to true compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Because it sounds like you can help a stranger
Mm-hmm.
quicker than you can help someone you're familiar with who has done something to offend you.
Yeah.
So now this person, let's kind of tweak the scenario.
Okay.
So now this is not a person who slapped your mama,
Mm-hmm.
but this is a person who, unbeknownst to you, has raped and murdered 3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
And they got hit by the same car, same broken leg, laying on the side of the road,
Mm-hmm.
but you don't know about what they did. You're driving down the road and you see this person calling for help.
Mm-hmm.
And what do?
Naturally, I'm gonna help
You don't help
because I don't know their story.
because you don't know.
Mm-hmm. And that's the heart. That's the other part to that is, yeah, I don't know this person. I don't know what type of person this is, but my heart says you got to help this person. They're in need. You can see they're in trouble, so they need some kind of assistance. So, it's going to pull on my heartstring.
Mm.
That if I drive past this person, knowing seeing the condition that they're in, it's not going to sit well with me.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
It is interesting because it's judgment,
Mm-hmm.
really.
Mm-hmm.
I know you. I know what you did, but I'm passing judgment. I'm not going to help you because you did this to my mother, or if I find out, already know. Oh, this is the dude that was on the news. That's like,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So if I know, then it's like I'm not going to be quick to give that certain kind of help.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to say that, hey, 911, the dude that I just saw on the news, he laying on the side of the road, and y'all better come get him.
Mm-hmm.
I can do that all day,
Uh-huh.
but I'm not going to go directly to you and help you.
So a lot of it is based on what you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's why God doesn't let us know everything.
That's it. Because then we'll be just walking around judging people.
Mm-hmm.
That person over there, Jesus told me that I know what they did, so I'm not gonna help them. Oh, that's a Jew over there, and they do such and such.
Right.
And so I'm not gonna help them over there. And I might get in trouble if I help them over there because they don't fall under what we do over here.
Right. So I'm glad you led me to where I was going.
Mm-hmm.
So in that parable, the priest and the Levite saw this man, a certain man. The Bible never describes this person, never describes this person's ethnic background,
Mm-hmm.
his social status, his economic status. But we know that the priest, the Jewish priest, and the Jewish Levite looked at the man and passed him by,
Mm-hmm.
which leads us to assume that this person was not part of their clique.
Right.
He either was not a Jew,
Mm-hmm.
or he was not of a certain social status,
Mm-hmm.
or a certain economic status.
So they thought.
By perhaps his appearance.
Right.
And see, what's crazy is they don't know what that man looked like before he was stripped naked
Mm-hmm.
and beat half to death.
Yep.
So what they're looking at is his current condition.
Mm-hmm.
And they made a judgment
Mm-hmm.
based on how he looked in his current situation.
Yeah.
They don't know if he was stripped of Gucci, Louis Vuitton, Fendi. All they know is he didn't have no clothes on.
Right.
This guy could have had on a Rolex watch right before they ran up on him.
Yeah.
You see, he could have had diamond studs.
Yeah.
But they don't know.
They don't
because people tend to judge you based on your current circumstance. And so that's what happens in our society. And that's why this parable not only speaks to compassion, but it also speaks to social justice. Because what we saw in this parable was a gross injustice from the Levite and the priest who judged this person based on their current circumstance, not considering that this person is in this condition because something just happened.
And that's still the same today. We look at and not only just, you can look at, you have the different ethnicities. This group over here looks at this group, or you have the whites and the blacks. We had that during the slavery period, and you have you've got within certain cultures you have like the Puerto Ricans and the Mexicans. They don't call them one or the other. They don't like that. Africans doesn't like black people. African Americans. Africans doesn't like African Americans, and it's crazy because why? These different cultures and different ethnicities, we have the same features. We can have the same things, same status, social status, all of that, but it's because of it was brought up that this group don't like this group, and it's carried on from generation to generation.
Right. So, and I said this in a previous Bible study, that attitude is actually taught.
Yes.
Because when we're born, we're not born understanding how to segregate and separate people by these different indicators, right? The color of your skin, the texture of your hair, the shape of your nose. And I'm using those specifically to say that we do it within our own culture, right? Yeah. So while we're on the eve of Juneteenth, it's easy to identify those who were experiencing slavery versus those who were not, because the consensus was the black people were the slaves and the white people were not. They were the slave owners. But that type of judgmental attitude is prevalent within ethnic groups, right? So if I'm black but I've got a pointy nose and fair skin, I may look at you different because you're dark brown with a wide round nose.
Yeah,
you feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now what's crazy is in that parable, it's as if I could strip off all of your physical characteristics so that you couldn't tell whether I was black, white, light skin, dark skin. Compassion says that's a person.
Right.
He or she has gone through so much that he's almost unrecognizable as a person. But my compassion says I need to help that person get back on their feet, and help that person heal to where they are now more recognizable for who they really are.
Right. Right. We don't give a person a chance
Mm-hmm.
because we're so quick to judge a book by its cover,
Mm-hmm.
the outer appearance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you see a young man body full of tattoos
Mm-hmm.
and dreads, and you automatically think, you know, an assumption,
Mm-hmm.
he's not bad. He's a bad person, or he's in a gang, or he's,
Mm-hmm.
you just you make those connections by what you see
Mm-hmm.
until you talk to them,
Right.
and they articulate,
Right.
smart,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, oh wow,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I didn't expect that.
Right.
Right. So we immediately go to that judgment part of it just from
What you see.
what you see.
And here's the thing, and this is where again where social justice comes in. So we have to try not to be judgmental. Watch this, not just based on what we see,
Mm-hmm.
but we have to also not be judgmental based on what we don't see.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Again, what we know versus what we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you just described how we can be judgmental because we see the way a person looks, and so we begin to formulate some kind of an idea in our mind of what type of person this is,
Mm-hmm.
what type of background he or she has, and we form a judgment, and then we begin to subconsciously treat that person a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, here in this parable, um, the priest did the same thing, but for the opposite reason. They didn't see any tattoos.
Right.
They didn't see enough to be able to judge this person
Mm-hmm.
as a bad person.
Mm-hmm.
Because you imagine this person is stripped naked. He has nothing identifiable on him except for the fact that he's beaten.
Mm-hmm.
He's beaten. He's probably looking a mess right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't know anything else about that person besides besides his current condition.
Mm-hmm.
But in their mind, they had to pass some type of judgment. And so
Mm-hmm.
this, when I talk about social justice, this is where social injustice comes into play. And we have to be careful that we are able to identify social injustice even when it's not happening to people who look a certain way.
Mm-hmm.
Because social injustice often happens because people don't look a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if this person who had been beaten on the side of the road had on a priest collar,
Mm-hmm.
and a priest robe, or one of them chains that they wear
Mm-hmm.
that go across here like that,
Mm-hmm.
right? They would have identified that person.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, he's one of us.
Mm-hmm.
Or if he had a tattoo that said, "I'm a Jew."
Yeah.
That's what for a lot of people, I think that's what tattoos really are. It's a way that they, I think for a lot of people who have tattoos, it's a part of how they identify with themselves,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, you know, every tattoo for most people has some kind of meaning
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
to them, and it's an identifiable meaning for them,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even I have a brand
Mm-hmm.
on my arm right here. You probably can't see it. There it is, right there.
Mm-hmm.
So most people who are watching, a lot of people who are watching right now, probably know what that is.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Sigma brand. It's an identifiable mark. So if somebody found me on the side of the road, if the right person found me on the side of the road and saw that brand, they would say, "Wait a minute, he's a Sigma."
Mm-hmm.
And if it was a Sigma who found me, they would immediately go into action in a different mode.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, we got to take care of them, right?
Yeah.
Brotherhood. But if I don't have any identifying mark, right? What should happen is a stranger should be able to still take care of me the same way. They mistreated this person by not treating this person.
Right. Right.
And that's social injustice.
Yeah.
And they did not treat this person because they couldn't identify with him. And that's social injustice. So that's the sneaky part of social injustice that we have to be consciously aware of. Sometimes it's easy to identify the injustice done to people because of race, because of financial status. And it's harder to identify the social injustice that goes on every day against those who have no status.
No status.
No status. So that's how Jesus's parable of the Good Samaritan not only speaks to compassion, having compassion, but it also speaks to the issue of social justice. Jesus was a social justice preacher amongst other things, right? He was a social justice preacher. And again, that's one of the things that got Jesus in trouble. And that's also one of the things that caused so many people who were marginalized to follow Jesus, because he dared to teach like this. He dared to stand for what was right in the face of the highfalutin religious law scholars, right? And left him standing there like, dang. It makes you have to go check yourself.
Exactly. And that's really what Jesus' teachings in the parables really do. It makes you sit back and like, is he talking about me?
Is he talking about me?
Oh, dang, I just asked the question. You talking about me? It makes you really look at things in a different aspect, and it really brings out like, ooh, am I like that? Ooh, I need to change them. If I'm like that, that's not me. But yeah, it could be you. It's some part of the parable. That's why the parables, it goes in so many different ways. It pulls out so many different things because, again, like we talked about before, it depends on who you are, what you're going through at the time that you're reading this a parable, what season of life you're in, when you read the parable. So it's going to affect you in different ways in different times. The same parable.
What's interesting, and I'm gonna say this thing, and then we're gonna move on. I'm just see how the parables make me think even deeper. So now I'm like putting myself way back in that time, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, based on what I know about the priests and the Levites, okay, so the priests came out of the lineage of Aaron, and the Levites, I believe, came out of that same lineage. The priests and the Levites, right? Aaron was Moses' brother, right? So by the time we get to where Jesus is telling this parable, Moses and Aaron and them, they all been long gone. So the priests were born into their priesthood, and the Levites were born into that. They're automatically a part of this class because they come out of the lineage of Aaron. So they don't know anything else but their life.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So I think perhaps they may have treated that man differently if they had lived, let's say, a regular life before they became a priest and a Levite.
So they what they call, in the rich state, you're born with a silver spoon in your mouth. So you're saying had they lived the life like the the certain man,
Mm-hmm.
if they had the opportunity to live that life, to know what it's about,
Mm-hmm.
um, then they would have had more compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay, but why would you have to do that? Just instead of just helping your brother.
That's good. So they think about it like this: you're born into priesthood.
Yes.
That all your life you're being raised towards one day you're going to be a priest. You're being raised towards one day you're going to be a Levite because you're coming out of this lineage, and that's all you know. So you live a sheltered life,
Mm.
right? You don't really know what's going on in the real world.
Mm-hmm.
You live your priestly life. You live your Levite life. Yes, you should have compassion because I'm sure the priests and the Levites are probably preaching and teaching it every day.
Right.
But but for whatever reason, they can't operate in it or exemplify it because they can't empathize with it.
Mm.
Not sympathize because anybody could walk past a person and feel sorry for them. That's sympathy.
Mm-hmm.
But to empathize means that I feel your pain. I understand what you're going through because perhaps I've been through something similar.
Mm-hmm.
I've been there. And so maybe the Samaritan has had some experience in his life
Mm-hmm.
where he found himself in need of help.
Mm-hmm.
And so now when he sees somebody else in need of help, it's nothing for him to, get off of his donkey and use his own money, find some way to bandage this man up and get him to a place where he can start healing, because maybe he went through the same thing, or maybe somebody in his family went through the same thing. And so a lot of times I think that's why we go through things in life. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
you're saying so that being perhaps gone through or experienced or can empathize because they know, they connect, they recognize. You're saying that makes it easier for them to show the compassion that Jesus is talking about in the parable.
Yeah, exactly. So the next time you go through something in life, think about why God might be allowing you to go through some struggles, go through some hard times.
Oh yeah.
Because if he didn't, you might not be able to empathize with people enough to have the compassion to help people when you find them in need, right? So it's like you said, the difference between being born with a silver spoon in your mouth or having to bootstrap your business, pull yourself up from your bootstraps, versus having a rags to riches story. That's a good one. Yeah. So silver spoon versus rag to riches. I believe without that compassion, the rags to riches person, well, let me say it like this. I believe that the rags to riches person has a better chance at showing compassion than the silver spoon person. Not necessarily, not in all cases,
right?
But a person who's been through something, who's been through some things,
absolutely,
they will not only sympathize, but they will empathize, and that empathy turns into compassion, and that compassion ought to turn into action. And that action should be, how can I help you?
Right. And I think that's why, for me, I think that's why I am such a giver, because what I've gone through in the past, and it's like I never want anybody to have to go through what I went through. I never want anybody to experience that, or even if they're experiencing it, I can connect with it. So it's like, I got help, or let me help you because I was able to get through it. Let me help you with what I did, and hopefully that'll help you get you through whatever it is.
Right. Okay. We got 15 minutes. Do we want to lift another parable? Did you have one, or you want me to bring up one?
I think one that stands out with, and I don't, it's a part of compassion
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and sibling rivalry, so to speak.
Interesting.
Um, if you look at it, you can look at it that way. It's the parable of the prodigal son.
Ah, okay.
So you have the two brothers,
Mm-hmm.
and the younger brother decides, he wants whatever the father has stored up for him,
Mm-hmm.
his inheritance.
Mm-hmm.
He wants his now before the dad. Usually you get your inheritance when the parent passes on.
Yeah.
He wants his inheritance now. So the younger brother, get his money, go and splurge and live his life and do his thing and do him
Mm-hmm.
and waste it,
Right.
spend it all up. But in the meantime, the oldest son is home, still working, helping the father, taking care of home.
Mm-hmm.
Son, the youngest son, wind up losing everything, spending everything. He has nothing, you know, eating the pig slop and things of that nature. But when he come back home, he decided, I got a place to go.
Right.
I'm going back home.
Right.
And the dad takes him back home, in open arms, throw a big feast for him, put him the finest robe, give him the finest jewels, and the oldest brother like, what?
Right.
What? Are you kidding me? Why? Why are you doing this, Dad? I've been here working and slaving and just making sure the house is taken care of. I'm doing my part as the oldest son. This crazy nut goes off and spend all his money, and you can't, and you treat him like nothing has happened.
Right.
What
right.
does that show? So to me, it's like Dad's like, it doesn't matter what you've gone through. As a father, you left home. You're still my son. You're still my child. But it can also cause the sibling rivalry, because I'm sure behind the scenes the oldest brother's like going off, or they're like, and now he feels some kind of way.
He's feeling some kind of way. He's in his feelings.
He in his feelings, and he's like, I don't even want to be around you. You like, and just and I'm sure there has been some occasions where there's been that type of rivalry in families. But do you think the brother should have shown him that same compassion that the dad did?
Do I think so?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm gonna say yeah, because I'm the same person that ain't gonna leave the person on the side of the road.
I ain't left nobody on the side of the road. Yeah. But okay, so you are able to show that same compassion, but can you relate to both? Can you relate to the dad? Can you relate to the oldest son and the youngest?
Yeah. Actually, I know I can relate to the younger son because I think we have similar personalities in terms of wanting to step out and try my hand at life. And you might jump out there and make some mistakes. But I think the Bible says something like he came to himself.
Yeah.
When he found himself eating pig slop out of the hog pen, he found himself. And I often find myself repenting. And that's really what's happening here is he came to himself, he repented and came back home. And that's what the father was so excited about. The one that was lost has returned. And the older brother didn't see it like that.
No.
he thinking, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? Maybe there was some ulterior motives going on in the older brother's head.
Mm-hmm.
Because he thinking, if this dude stay gone and daddy died,
I get it all.
I get it all.
Mm-hmm.
Now here he come.
Right. Like, what? Why are you back?
Right,
You
right.
know, you ain't got nothing coming because you ain't been here and you ain't did nothing. You know,
Mhm.
that kind of thing. As a parent, as a mother,
Mhm.
you know, we want our children to go and live life,
Mhm.
experience life,
Yeah.
you know, on your own terms. Go
Mhm.
out, you know. And I think it starts when, you know, when the child decides they want to go off to college and they
Mhm.
want to go away to college. Yeah, go experience that. I want you
Mhm.
to experience that. But and I don't know if it's different between mothers and fathers, but for me, it's like it doesn't matter how old you are.
Mhm.
If you're in need and need to come back home,
Mhm.
you can always come back home
Mhm.
with a plan to leave again.
I told somebody that I was, you know, we've had that situation.
Oh
where,
yeah.
Our adult children, from time to time, they find themselves in some type of situation where life has you circle back,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and God has blessed us to be able to accommodate. Like we represent the revolving door, the
Yep.
open door,
Yep.
and we may talk, you know,
Talk
we,
crap.
we may talk crap a little bit because somebody said, well, I said, yeah, they go, but they keep coming back. And somebody said, that's because you keep letting them,
Mm-hmm.
which is true. But when you think about like the father and the prodigal son, he would probably keep letting them.
Yeah, he would.
You know, keep letting them and keep letting them. But in this instance, the father actually represents God,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Mm-hmm.
so you have to think about it in those terms, like no matter what you've done, God is going to receive you. He's going to welcome you back, and the angels in heaven are going to rejoice.
Right.
So you know, he told his servants to go, you know, make a feast,
Mm-hmm.
put the
Mm-hmm.
robe on them, put the ring on them,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So God and the angels in heaven rejoice when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
And he's coming back because he finally came to himself. Now, in our situation, they come back because they don't. I don't know why they did that.
Anyway.
Anyway,
But I love that that analogy that if we look now, see that's what I'm saying. Parables, people look at it different ways
Mhm.
and pull out different meanings. Um, and you connect that with God, and when we fall and when we stray
Mhm.
and we, you know, turn away from his ways and his way of living, he's like, okay,
But
I'm gonna let you, but you gonna come back,
yeah.
you know.
Well, let me tell you why. I'm gonna tell you. You asked the question, would I have compassion?
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I was the older brother, I would still have compassion. And the reason goes back to what I said in the other parable is because I've been through some things,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, yeah, I may talk crap about our kids coming back, but I do keep opening the door.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I keep opening the door is because I've been there.
Right.
I've been there.
Yep.
I've had to come back
Yep.
in my lifetime. I had to stay with my sister
Yep.
for
Me
some
too.
months.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've stayed with my father
Mm-hmm.
for some months.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go back to Cleveland and stay with my mother
Mm-hmm.
for some months. Yeah, I've been there. So I may talk crap, but every time they come, I open the door.
Yeah.
Because I've been there.
Yeah. Absolutely. And again, you know, we've talked about it. It's like I don't care how old they get,
Mm-hmm.
you know, because life happens.
Right.
You know, nothing. Life doesn't guarantee anything.
Right.
You know, and if you know we see them and we see them trying to live
Mm-hmm.
life, you know, things happen.
Right.
Um, you know, again, we talk crap, behind the scenes
Mhm.
under our breath, and we're like, how long this time? How long this time?
Yeah.
But again, because we've both experienced
Right.
that, and we've both needed that kind of help
Mhm.
from family members. How dare we
Right.
not do the same?
Right. So it's easier for me. Oh, that's good, because that explains why it's easier for me to have compassion and can see how the father receives him, and say, if I was the other brother, I would receive him back too.
Mm-hmm.
That's only because I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
I've been on the other side.
Yeah.
But what I want to do too, before we get off of that, is to see how that plays out in the realm of social justice, if it does.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think I can see it in the sense that so in this context, it's family,
Mm-hmm.
right? But when we talk about social justice, the older brother, again, he had not experienced what the younger brother experienced.
Right.
You know, the younger brother was out there gambling and lost all his money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, found himself sleeping with the pigs, right? So he was in a down and out situation.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we tend to ostracize people who are down and out, not realizing that's just a temporary, I'm gonna use a big word, existential situation. It's your temporary existence.
Mm-hmm.
That's not who you are.
Right.
But what happens in our society is that we tend to shun people or cast people out. That's what we call the marginalized. We put them outside the margins because of where they are, that we are not at a particular point in time in our life.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, at any given time, it could be you.
Yep.
At any given
That's
time,
it.
it could be you,
Mm-hmm.
unless you one of those people who never go out and try anything.
Right. You're in your box.
Yeah, you stay in your
safe
box. And so God didn't call us to do that either.
Mm-mm.
He said, I
Mm-mm.
want you to be in the world, but not of the world.
Mm-hmm.
In other words, in order for us to fulfill God's will and our purpose on this earth, we have to go out.
Mm-hmm.
We can't stay in the house, you know. And so in so doing, when we go out, we're going to be called upon, if nothing else, to have compassion on those we come across.
Mm-hmm.
And you better do it, because what goes around
Comes around.
comes
Karma
around.
is real.
It goes around,
real.
comes around. You might find yourself in a situation where you need somebody to either help you out or take up for you.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're called to do as, watch this, not Christians, but as followers of the way.
Yeah.
Whatever that is, it must be important. So we're going to go ahead and end this call, because somebody keep calling us, and they know we do Bible study on Tuesday at 7:30, and we ain't done till 8:30.
Right.
So this better be important.
Okay. I have no idea.
Anyways.
Yeah.
Okay. So I wanted to get through that.
Yes.
And we're going to take a break.
Okay.
Because when we start back, when we come back, we're going to be dealing with miracle signs and wonders. Miracle signs and wonders.
Ooh.
So do you want to take a break next week, take off next week, or do you want to just do something fun and light? Because we're not going to start miracle signs and wonders this coming Tuesday, next Tuesday.
What's the date? What's the date? Let's see.
25th is
Oh,
next
that's the
Tuesday.
day after our anniversary.
Yeah, we're not going. Good thing. So our anniversary is June 24th. That's a Monday.
That's a Monday.
So that following Tuesday is the 25th. We ain't coming online. I just made a call.
You just made an executive decision.
I made an executive decision.
Okay.
Oh, I done stepped on the dog.
Oh my Lord.
We're not coming on. So we're gonna take a break for a week. But when we come back on July 2nd, which is right before 4th of July, what, you gonna be out of town?
No,
What's happening?
no,
Don't scare me like that.
no, that's fine.
We gonna
That's
be
fine.
doing. We going into Jesus's miracles, signs, and wonders, and that's gonna be a powerful. That's gonna be a
That's a
powerful
good one.
segment.
Yes.
So
Yes.
we look forward to it. Tell a friend. Go ahead and like and share this one, but tell everybody you know. When we start that segment on miracles, signs, and wonders, you're gonna want to be there.
Yes.
You're gonna want to be a part of that.
All righty.
All right.
Thank you guys for joining in again on this Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Abundant Way Ministry Bible Study.
There you go.
See you guys on July 2nd. Okay? Have a good night. Bye.